As my listeners and viewers have learnt over the years, I regard them as my best researchers. That's why I answer all my correspondence, and I can assure you it is voluminous. But my writers are arguing that there must be something bordering on a royal commission to investigate the appalling and damaging government response to coronavirus. Only recently, the former Prime Minister Tony Abbott spoke not only about the economic cost of the government response to COVID-19, but the greatest cost, that of our freedom and our humanity. As Tony Abbott said, and I quote, "There is a decline in educational attainments, especially for youngsters without ready access to parent-teachers, plus 2 years of lost social development. The people in aged care facilities who went for 2 years, largely without visitors. The delayed treatments and diagnoses of other diseases as health systems prioritised COVID, plus the mental health issues that lockdowns exacerbated." He said, "The businesses closed and the economic opportunities lost. It all adds up to a weakening of national morale from which it may take years to recover." Tony Abbott, correct. Recently in this country, we were visited by the Stanford University professor and critic of lockdowns, Professor Jai Bhattacharya. Now remember, the message was repeated that only public health experts were allowed to guide public policy. But public health experts like Professor Bhattacharya were ignored when they argued for a different approach to lockdowns. There is a new Prime Minister designate in Italy, Giorgia Meloni. She's now the force behind a parliamentary inquiry in Italy into what Meloni calls, quote, "the disastrous management of the pandemic." She's talking about a commission in front of which, quote, "everyone will be called to assume their responsibilities," unquote. You will recall when this began, governments and leading politicians were slaves to international, quote-unquote, modelling. Chief amongst advisors and modellers was Professor Neil Ferguson from the MRC Centre for Global Infectious Disease Analysis at Imperial College London, advising the British government. In 2001, his modelling predicted 150,000 people would die from mad cow disease. There were fewer than 200 deaths. In 2005, he said up to 200 million people could be killed from bird flu. 282 people died, not 200 million. In 2009, he advised the British government, and of course his advice went worldwide, that swine flu would lead to 65,000 UK deaths. Well, there weren't 65,000, there were 457. His alarmism led governments all over the world into economic, business and personal black holes. No one has been made accountable. In the middle of all of this, a leading economist in the Victorian Department of Finance and Treasury, Sanjeev Sablock, said he had resigned, quote, "so that I would be free to speak out against the state government's management of the COVID-19 infection. I made a number of criticisms of the state government on social media. The head of human relations at Treasury asked me to remove them. I resigned on the same day. The only honourable course," he said, "for a free citizen of Australia," unquote. He went on, "I never dreamt I would see some of the tactics being used to defend the state's health. The pandemic policies being pursued in Australia," he said, "particularly in Victoria, are the most heavy-handed possible, a sledgehammer to kill a swarm of flies," unquote. Now, I made these very points myself 2 and 3 years ago. I was ridiculed. Well, should I say not ridiculed? It should be cancelled. Cancelled. You can't say that.